What were we watching on TV in the 90s? I bet you have, like me, forgotten more than you remember. So I had some fun and put this together to see how others my age, the grunge crowd, did in remembering all the fun, weird, outrageous television we grew up on. I decided to start this video with little kids shows and work up to the adult ones. In doing this, I found a lot of children's shows that turned out more like adult shows. Let me show you. I start out with fun children's shows like this one. The answer is Rugrats. However, at this time, Nickelodeon was up and running with most of the popular kids shows. Shows like Double Dare, tell me if I'm wrong on that name, dropped slime all over the contestants. We and our young siblings found this to be extremely fun. It was actually such a surprise for something like this to be on television back then. It was as exciting as watching people get dunked in a dunk tank at the fair. But this was everyday laughs. Another example of Nickelodeon's favorite studio shows was Boy Meets World, this picture here. Everyone in elementary and junior high seemed to love this show. As a teen, I was gritting my teeth through those shows to get to Nick at Night when great adult humor cartoons started. But first, I just have to... I know, but grit your teeth for a couple of seconds. I would completely miss the mark of what television was like if I don't show you. Barney?
Barney is a dinosaur from our imagination, and when he's tall, he's what we call a dinosaur sensation. Go, go, Power Rangers!
And the Power Rangers.
Go, go, Power Rangers!
Stop yelling at your screen. We will move on. Simpsons, the first cartoon to really upset a lot of adults, yet they found it funny to watch. They just did not want their children repeating Bart's phases, such as, eat my shorts and don't have a cow. This was spicy TV for that time period. Many parents drew a line on this show. But then TV just got more adult after Simpsons lasted the whole decade. And many more to come. Also during this time, MTV started with their favorite cartoons, such as this one, Ren and Stimpy. This was a lot of body functions and silly behavior, but teens loved to watch. Another one of MTV's series was Beavis and Butthead. This show was much like going to Taco Bell at midnight and trying to order at the drive-in. Have you ever tried that? Man, oh man, you could never find anyone so stoned anywhere else. We have no meat? Come on. Sorry, moving on. As a teen, the first show I could make it home for every day was Animaniacs. This was a fun show, and even though a bit adult, was not as disrespectful as MTV and Nickelodeon. They had many loved characters, but my all-time favorite was Pinky and the Brain. Where would we find a rubber duck and horse at this hour? If you know, you know. It was necessary for the world of television to find a moralistic balance. And they did this with non-cartoon shows. These shows were 30 minutes on what you should do, believe, and emulate. This first one was Seventh Heaven. A preacher and his family doing everyday things better than anyone else, leaving us with a moral to every story, an understanding of right and wrong, and instruction on how to do things. Another similar show was Step by Step. Okay, my opinion. After decades of the public belittling Susan Summers for her prior role as a sexy, ditzy blonde, it was hard to get moral judgment from her and this show. Other popular shows were Touched by an Angel, where angels arrive just in time for a story of love and endurance to occur. It was a sweet show, and one that left the viewer feeling better by the end. Also, there were a large number of family shows, like The Cosby Show here. 30 minutes from terrible mistakes and how to fix these mistakes in 30 minutes or less. Additional shows were talking about teen culture and moralizing parents, such as Valerie and the Hogans. Same show, different female head of household. Then there was Roseanne, a gritty family show that was more realistic to how households in the 90s were really run. Extreme sarcasm that left viewers a bit shocked, but laughing. Now let's talk about nighttime television. Shows that everyone loved and were just a little silly. Third Rock from the Sun, about aliens living among us, was slapstick humor that most could find hilarious. I actually did not really watch this show until a decade later, and I found it very entertaining. I was sorry I had missed it when it was on the air. Also, during this time, there was an overwhelming love for the show Friends. Might be the first to go viral. Friends and the quotes from Friends were everywhere. Also, a very edgy show, The Nanny, made an interesting approach on the poor meets the rich. The Nanny was a very popular show, but was usually on later at night. And if you are from the 90s, you know what that means. It was considered for adults, as kids should be in bed at these times. Also on later night television was The Golden Girls, a show that related aging with grace, compassion, fun, and a non-nursing home version of being elderly. My mom, nearly 50 at this point, loved that these women were living normal lives, even at their advancing ages. Every decade has their best fantasy shows, where the best of graphics, computer-generated material, and editing were used. In the 90s, we still had a lot to learn, but these shows did the best they had available to them. Shows like Charmed and its spin-off show Angel gives us an hour of imagination and possibilities, as three witches save the world. Also very interesting was a regeneration of Star Trek. 3 shows and 5 movies from this franchise started in the 90s. There was Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Discovery, and Star Trek Voyager. It actually was just too hard to stay with all of these characters. So much of it was less appreciated. Most viewers watched one and not the others. Next Generation was on top of that pileup. So to not miss any important genres during the 90s, we have to talk about trash TV. This category is my opinion on what was wasted airspace but was very important to those that watched. Shows like All My Children, Days of Our Lives, and many more were called stories by the older generations, but we called them soap operas. And if you were like me, I wanted to be sick from school on a Friday or a Monday to see what was happening in these extremely dramatic shows. I stopped watching them when they got too silly to watch, like when the entire cast of one of these soap operas got lost in the lost cities of Atlantis. They got so crazy on these shows that people died and always came back. Other trash TV was call talk shows. The most popular and frankly disgusting show of all was Jerry Springer. If someone was getting too excited or upset about something, people told them to take it to the Jerry Springer Show. It was a culture of reality television and excessive drama that kept us watching trash TV. There were also late evening soap operas. Shows like 90210 and Melrose Place kept people home nights so they did not miss out on who was doing what. Additionally, reality TV started in the 90s. The Real World was a reality show that kept many glued to their televisions. Also, at this time, shows like Jackass had a real influence on what people would watch and extreme activities. The guys on this show were crazy and over the top, and we loved laughing and being shocked by what they would come up with next. I guess I should sum it all up now. Thanks for watching, and I hope I brought back memories for you as it did for me making this video. Television in the 90s really was a turning point of entertainment. Reality TV might not even exist without the influence of the 90s. And I, for one, am happy that I have many of these memories from my time in the 90s. I hope you were able to name the shows as I talked about them. How many did you already know? What was your experience with these shows? Make a comment and subscribe and like for future videos. Glad you joined me. Thanks.